Government lawyers are in court this week arguing that conditions for migrants that are of almost cartoon levels of cruelty are perfectly fine and should be allowed to continue. The Trump administration argued in front of a Ninth Circuit panel Tuesday that the government is not required to give soap or toothbrushes to children apprehended at the US-Mexico border and can have them sleep on concrete floors in frigid, overcrowded cells despite a settlement agreement that requires detainees be kept in quote safe and sanitary facilities. They argued that, and we have a couple of responses from both the lawyers, but also some of the judges on that panel, which gives me a little bit of hope. US Circuit Judge Marcia Berzon said, "You're really going to stand up and tell us that being able to sleep isn't a question of safe and sanitary conditions?" So that's a rational person. US Circuit Judge William Fletcher said, "Are you arguing seriously that you do not read the agreement, the previously agreed one that we were talking about, as requiring you to do anything other than what I just described? Cold all night long, lights on all night long, sleeping on concrete, and you've got an aluminum foil blanket. I find that inconceivable that the government would say that that is safe and sanitary." But that is what that Sarah Fabian has apparently been making the case that that is in fact totally acceptable.
Okay, they're not illegals, so you can't treat them like it's a criminal. These are people who are, and it's legal to apply for asylum and seek that. It is so ridiculous. I just think as a whole, when you look at the issues that are happening and when it comes to these immigrants, it's just like if the president were sitting across the table from himself on an episode of The Apprentice where the project in question was immigration. The president himself would look at him and be, I don't care who's responsible. If you're pointing your fingers at other people, you're in charge here. So you're fired. Yeah. That is how every episode of The Apprentice played out. It was kind of fun to watch.
But I have never watched an episode.
It was just that. It was him just messing with people who messed up. And when they messed up, he would just be like, I'm sorry. I know you're saying that the products didn't show up on time, or like you don't have the toothbrushes or the soap. Figure it out, get the toothbrushes and the soap. You're the one who's messing this up, you're fired.
Yeah, and because he's messing it up, other people have to say crazy things. And I don't know the Justice Department's lawyer, Sarah Fabian. Maybe she agrees with every part of this policy, but she has to defend it, whether she agrees or not. And so she had said she thought it was fair to say that those things, like being able to sleep and having soap, may be part of the definition of safe and sanitary. So that's good. Maybe that helps her to sleep, but she is in court arguing that the policy that they have right now, where you can't sleep, you don't have a toothbrush, you don't have soap, is perfectly fine and should continue. So let's give you a little bit more details about the conditions that these people are being held in. US District Judge Dolly G said that they had found that migrants in Rio Grande Valley facilities were hungry, with some eating only sandwiches of 2 pieces of dry bread and 1 slice of ham. They were thirsty, with up to 20 migrants sharing the same cup to drink from the water cooler. They were embarrassed to use a toilet in front of 50 other people, and they couldn't take a shower or brush their teeth or even wash their hands with soap and dry them with a towel. At night, they couldn't sleep. The lights were left on as they shivered beneath an aluminum blanket on the concrete floor. That is like literally the list of things that Jesus asks you to do, is to provide those things almost in the same order he asks you to provide them. And we are, as a government policy, denying people those things. Not because we don't have the resources. We definitely have the resources. However much that military operation we almost launched on Iran yesterday cost, would certainly buy a lot of toothbrushes and soap. But we're choosing not to do it. And we know that it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
So first off, it's not working. They know that this is what they face. And that logic, the only thing to do if they are fleeing certain death in their country is to promise them certain death in this country. That's the only way that your incentive structure that they set out for themselves would pan out. That's illegal. So why don't you find some other solution than torturing kids?
That's their go-to. And in terms of the death toll so far, just since September, 6 child migrants have died, mostly after falling ill at detention facilities in that same valley. And if you've wondered how you can fall ill at these places and die, I think that we've sketched out a pretty good path as to how you get that. And so basically the sum total of all of this, everything that we've learned today, fills me with rage. And the only appropriate place to target that rage is at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for daring to call these concentration camps, with a gall of her
How dare she?
to identify these places where they don't even have soap as a concentration camp. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.